President, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would first like to apologize for the absence of Vice President Commissioner Reding today. She's held back in Brussels with the flu. She's very sorry that she couldn't make it today, and she asked me to transmit you her apologies, but also to underline that she's very much committed to come to Vilnius very soon and to mark the opening of the European Institute for Gender Equality, from which we expect a lot, and we are very glad to be here today for the opening of this institute. Now let me pronounce the speech of the Vice President of the Commission, Viviane Reding. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here today at the first conference of the European Institute for Gender Equality. It is a great moment for me to see the idea of a European Gender Institute finally becoming reality today as the Institute begins operating. The original idea of a Gender Institute goes back to the year 2000, when the European Council recommended setting up a European agency dedicated exclusively to work on equality between women and men. Here we are in Vilnius, nearly a decade later, a decade after negotiations and decisions in Brussels getting the Institute to work. I'm convinced that this was a very good choice for many reasons. First, Lithuania is known for its positive track record in the field of gender equality. Already in the 16th century, women's rights to inherit and to attend meetings was confirmed on the first Lithuanian statute, which even included a chapter protecting women from violence. At a time where in most of Europe the position of women varied greatly, Lithuania was already taking the lead. And in the beginning of the 20th century, in 1905, the Great Parliament of the city of Vilnius included women and acknowledged the principle of equality between women and men. This leadership followed until today. Take, for instance, the example of the female employment rate in Lithuania. At nearly 61%, Lithuania is above the EU average and above the targets set for 2010 under the Lisbon strategy. Statistics also show that here in Lithuania, women reconcile work and family life more harmoniously than in many other countries. And we should also keep in mind that not many European countries can claim to have a woman as head of state. Secondly, I'm delighted at the choice of Vilnius for the headquarters for the European Institute, because I know it will be able to rely on firm support from the Lithuanian government. This has become obvious in the very first month after the Institute was established. I am sure the Lithuanian government will continue to assist the Institute to become the European Union's center of excellence in the field of equality between women and men. The Institute's task, ladies and gentlemen, is to support the European institutions and the European member states in the efforts to promote gender equality. It will do this by providing objective, reliable, comparable information and data on equality between women and men. It will also help to raise the visibility of gender equality by setting up a documentation center where the public will be able to consult research, publications, programs, and best practices. Vilnius is the place Europe will turn to when expertise in gender issues is needed. The European Commission is looking forward to receiving technical assistance from the Institute. This will allow us to focus on our core competencies, in other words, on policy making. Thanks to the data and statistics it will collect and disseminate, the Institute will help the Commission to take evidence-based policy decisions. This is where I expect the Institute to really make a difference. Because there's still a lot to do on the way to gender equality. This is why President Barroso and I presented a Women's Charter on the 5th of March. That was a major step in reasserting the gender equality values at EU level, based on the Lisbon Treaty and the Charter of Fundamental Rights. The Women's Charter represents a political commitment by each member of the Commission to advancing equality between women and men in their own portfolios, and a commitment by the Commission as a whole. The Charter designates 5 priority areas. We have committed ourselves to, firstly, promote equal economic independence between women and men. Secondly, to fight for equal pay and for equal work and work of equal value. Thirdly, for equality in decision making. Fourthly, we will do our utmost to put an end to gender-based violence. Last but not least, fifthly, we will work for gender equality outside the Union's borders in our external policy and actions. The Women's Charter will be followed up by a comprehensive strategy for gender equality that will translate its principle into practical action for the period 2010 to 2015. The new strategy, which I will present this autumn, will put forward actions across the Commission, building on efforts put over the last 15 years to implement the Beijing Platform for Action. The principle of equal economic independence of women and men mentioned in the Charter will be a key priority in the new strategy. We all know that equality between women and men cannot exist without equal economic independence, which is why we need to support women's full integration into the EU labor market. One of the objectives will be to improve the quality of jobs held by women who continue to be overrepresented in part-time jobs and in occupations that are less valued and more precarious. One precondition for achieving equal economic independence, the reconciliation of work and private life, also deserves our special attention. Apart from the proposals for legislation currently on the table, such as those on maternity leave and equality of self-employed, the member states need to support flexible working arrangements and care facilities so both women and men have a real choice between working and caring. As a recent Eurobarometer survey on gender equality shows, 8 out of 10 people in Europe think that urgent action should be taken to tackle the gender pay gap. Currently, the gender pay gap in the EU stands at 18% on average, and it is growing wider in some countries, which is unacceptable. I will be promoting gender balance in decision-making because women are not yet where they should be. Women are, except in university studies, severely underrepresented in decision-making positions at all levels, both in public and in private companies.